We are running out of content because end of the year is coming on. We don't have any more fights to discuss. We don't have fights until January 11th or 12th, I believe, and it is the worst matchup between Amanda Hebos and Mackenzie Big Booty Dern. Horrible matchup. Not looking forward to it. So instead, we're just going to talk about the top 5 retirements of this year, the biggest 5. I wouldn't say top 5. It's not a celebration. It's more of like good for them, but these are like the best 5 guys who retired in 2024. We're going to start off with some honorable mentions, that being Thiago Alves and Matt Schnell. I think Matt Schnell and Thiago Alves at least deserve a shout out. They had great moments in their UFC and MMA careers respectively, especially Matt Schnell. I think in 2022, he had the comeback and fight of the year with Suma Darji, and I really love that matchup altogether. So I just had to give them a little bit of a bump here. And Thiago Alves is even good in BKFC. I mean, he can really do whatever he wants. He's pretty fun to watch generally. Just want to shout them out before running through the rest of the list. Starting off with number 5, we've got Tyson Pedro. He beat guys like Khalil Roundtree and Paul Craig and had the most goated KO celebration of all time with the samurai sword slash and put away when he killed the pleasure man Anton. I hate his nickname. I hate saying it, but also I have to say it. I feel like it's the only name he should be known by at this point. Turkali, I think is his last name. But regardless, I love Tyson Pedro. It is sad he retired at like 31, 32. The injuries caught up to him. And, I think it's a good time for him to retire. That way he can focus on something a little bit less taxing the body. He wants to do boxing, so maybe he won't injure his legs as much with this kind of sport. Next, we've got Matt Brown at number 4. I love Matt Brown, the immortal himself, retired at 43, and his career was one of my favorite to watch because it's either he's going to knock the guy out or get knocked out usually. He didn't go to the decision a lot of times in his career, and if he did, it was a really entertaining fight. And I think he has the greatest knockout of all time against Diego Sanchez up against the cage with the frame and the giant elbow he threw. It's the definition of folding a lawn chair when Diego Lopez falls over in a heap on the floor. Just generally, I love Matt Brown, and I thought it was really cool to watch him at 42, 41 years of age, knocking out young prospects that were on the rise, looking to just like blast past Matt Brown. Nobody really could do it like Matt Brown. I think the best thing about him going into retirement in 2024 is he ended it on his own terms. He said he was done with the sport. He didn't get his dick hard anymore, and he ended it on a KO. So it's the best way to retire. That's why I'm hoping the next candidate on this list also is completely done. It seems like he is, according to what he's saying on social media and what he said in the cage. But at number 3, we have Cub Swanson. I personally love Cub Swanson, and he has wins in featherweight over guys like Charles Oliveira and Dustin Poirier, who are 2 of the greatest lightweights of all time. So before their move up, it's a different time when they fought him. He was a vet and they weren't just yet. But I really like Cub Swanson at this number 3 spot. I would have him higher, but the next 2 guys are some of the greatest fighters of all time. And just seeing that he got this win just this last weekend, I think this is perfect timing for him at the age of 41. Still looks quick, but I think retiring on top is way better than doing a BJ Penn and retiring at the bottom. Sliding in at the number 2 spot, we've got Stipe Miocic. I personally love Stipe Miocic. Unfortunately, one of the very first fights I ever saw of Stipe was him getting knocked out cold by Francis Ngannou. But let's not dwell on that. Let's dwell on his absolute amazing accomplishments, like when he beat Daniel Cormier 2 times in a row. He has wins over guys like JDS. He has wins over Fabricio Verdum. Not to mention he beat Ngannou the first time they did fight. And he also has wins over guys like JDS and stuff like that. Overall, Stipe Miocic had a really great career, especially considering he is the heavyweight greatest of all time. There's other guys pining for it, gunning for it. I think Tom Aspinall could be one day, but at the moment, it's definitely Stipe Miocic, and no one's going to take that from him. I think it was a good time to retire. He came back after about 4 years of inactivity, and losing to someone like John Jones is not a disappointment. So glad to see Stipe retire and doing something he loves now in firefighting. And yeah, he's getting paid for it now, no longer volunteer, so it's good to see. Finally, capping off the list, there's no one else to put here. Number 1, one of the greatest of all time. I have him as my second or first. He swaps every week I think about it. Demetrious Johnson. Retired in one championship just near the middle of this year. And he retired on top as well after getting a really good fresh win off of Adriano Moraes. Amazing fight, by the way. I love the trilogy between those two guys. It was such a back and forth affair, with one knocking out the other, then Demetrious Johnson knocking him out, and then cementing that he was better than him and beating him in the third bout with a complete unanimous decision. Not only one championship was he amazing, though. I mean, the UFC career, everyone already knows about that. 11 title defenses, 13 fight win streak in the flyweight division, the flyweight greatest of all time by a landslide. There's no competition. Pantoja would have to defend the belt 10 more times to even get close. And I do miss the UFC version of Demetrious Johnson, but I'm glad he got to retire in a place where they cared a lot more about him. He didn't have to cut as much weight, and he was a lot more comfortable in that situation. He said he's fully retired. Pantoja tried to drag him out of retirement. He didn't want to go. I don't blame him. But I'm super happy to see Demetrious Johnson so happy, posting stuff with Khabib and Islam Makhachev. Just great feeling overall. And those are my biggest 5 retirements of 2024.